This is our 190cc crate engine. I'm going to give you the rundown of everything that comes in this engine. And of course we sell this as a kit on our website. But when I say 190cc, it's actually not a 190cc, it's a 188cc. When I say crate engine, I mean like you buy it on the website, the complete motor, it shows up at your house, and you take this engine and you put it in your bike. There's nothing to do really. You just add oil, tune it, put it in your bike, done. I want to go over everything though that's entailed in this. By the way, we do have 171s, 232s, 180s. We have all kinds of different crate engines that we can do for you. But I'm going to be reviewing and showing you the 190cc. Alright, so I've got the whole entire motor torn down, all the pieces laid out from the brand new motor that I disassembled. So as you've seen on the disassembly and the time-lapse video, I had a tool attached here and I was boring out, let me put this as our engine case on here. I was boring out this bore here in the cases. The reason why I did that is because if you take a 63mm kit, which is a 180cc here, and I try to slide it in, I won't be able to unless this is bored. But since it's bored, I bored it out to 63.5mm, and this is a 63mm kit, so now it drops right in to the engine cases. Now, in order to make a 190cc, actually it's like a 187.8cc, we'll install the stroker crank into here. I had to take this all apart, remove the crankshaft, because when you have the boring tool, the crankshaft's going to get in the way. Plus you get metal shavings all over the place when you're boring this. So we'll do in the 2.5mm stroker crank, so it's got a longer stroke, which gives it more cc's. So that's the whole deal, and we're replacing all of the internals with a lot better components, stronger, so it can handle this high compression 190cc engine. So when doing a larger displacement motor, you want to pull out your old oil pump, because you need more oil flow. And you'll install a high volume oil pump that looks like this. If you run an oil cooler or anything bigger than the 171cc, I highly recommend this pump. And then it just drops into place and screws in right there. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the two pumps. This one right here is the high volume oil pump, and this one right here is the stock pump. If you notice, this guy right here is taller. It supplies more oil to the engine. It's a much better build. This is an aluminum build, like a billet aluminum, and then this one is a cast aluminum. Much better. But they do operate exactly the same. One is just built better than the other and supplies more oil. So just to give you a reference where your oil pump is, so here's the other side of the engine case. It goes on just like this. Your oil pump is going to go right here. It's going to mount right in there. And that's right behind the oil fill cover, the right crankcase cover, just to give you a reference. So the crankshaft I'll be installing is a 2.5mm performance crankshaft. The bearings have been upgraded, and the most important part is this rod is 2.5mm longer than this rod, the stock rod, which makes it a stroker crankshaft, 2.5mm. That's what we'll be installing, just a much better crankshaft than the stock one. And it's going to give us a lot more performance. Almost 9 more cc's than the stock crankshaft. So since we're upgrading to a higher displacement motor, we're going to need to upgrade our starter clutch. Otherwise, it's going to go out eventually. Here is our stock starter clutch. It's got, they call this a sprag whenever there's 3 of them, 3 little rollers. Those are sprags, so 1, 2, 3, that's stock. So if you notice, if I slide that down like that, if you notice, I can only spin this one way. If I try to go the other way, it doesn't go. It locks it into place. That's basically the function of this. So with it locking like that, with a higher compression motor, you're getting a lot more basically jolting. It's really hitting hard whenever you're trying to turn over that high compression engine. And it only has 3 sprags, so we upgrade to a 4 sprag. And again, you just drop it into place just like that. And that would be our 4 sprag heavy duty starter clutch. To install it, you simply slide this over the top. You want to line up your key here, slide that in, and then you're going to have a little washer and then a reverse castle nut. So backwards to tighten. Then you'll need a castle nut socket. Remember, it's reverse thread, so we'll torque that down. We do sell this kit that comes with this tool and the clutch itself. So this starter here is our 150cc starter. It has 2 brushes. So there's a negative and a positive brush in the inside. When you apply power, then it allows you to spin the starter motor over. We've got our high torque starter, and it's got 4 brushes. So you're going to get double the amperage to the starter that spins this sucker over like there's no tomorrow. Let me show you how it goes in. So these starters are really important whenever you do the higher displacement. Just pops in, and then we'll mount it with these 2 8mm bolts. When you run a ground to your engine off of your harness, when you run these bigger motors, if you're having issues starting it, you're going to run a dedicated ground right to the back of the starter. So negative ground all the way from the starter to the battery terminal, negative battery terminal. This is the stock 150cc cylinder and piston. This is a 57mm bore. And this is our upgraded cylinder, the 180cc kit. Remember, we're doing the stroker crankshaft to make it a 190cc. This is 63mm, this is 57. There's a pretty significant difference in size. The other thing is, if you notice, this is a little bit discolored. What you're looking at is this is a ceramic coated cylinder. And the reason why you would do that is it's really good for the heat dissipation. So it keeps your motor cooler. This is super important when you're dealing with the larger displacement motors. So since we've got the engine cases bored out, we're now able to fit this large cylinder into our engine cases. The old cylinder fits basically inside the new cylinder, so there's a huge difference. The other thing we like to use on these bigger bore engines is a Nikka SIL cylinder. Not only is this ceramic coated, it has a Nikka SIL. Nikka SIL is a coating inside the cylinder to lower the friction. So this one is not Nikka SIL, and this one can take a little bit more wear and tear. So it's ceramic coated and it has a Nikka SIL coating. The new cylinder is going to fit right down the pipe there once we put the piston on. And like I said before, we've opened this bore up all the way as far as we can go. So now we can run the 63mm. Here is the beautiful piece of art installed. I love this. These kits are so pretty. So here is our stock head, and here is our performance head. If you notice, first thing you'll notice is on the stock head is a 10mm exhaust studs. We want thicker exhaust studs. It's stronger. It's a lot better. These are 12mm. A lot better. So, and then here's the other thing. Notice the porting inside there, how smooth the metal is and how big it is. Now, that's on our performance head. Now, here is our stock head. See all that imperfections? It's all. Here's a side-by-side comparison if you can notice. Same thing on the intake. Really smooth, big porting. Here's the stock one. Not very big and not too smooth. The stock head has a 24mm port. That's the size of this hole. The performance head has a 27mm hole, so pretty significant. And then the intake on the performance head is 27 millimeters. On the stock head is 23. So remember, more air in, more air out equals more performance. So we'll install this performance head onto this motor. So the camshaft, here's our stock camshaft. This is hard to tell really just visually, but here's our performance camshaft. But when you measure, the lobes on the stock cam are 25 millimeters and the lobes on the performance cam is 27 millimeters, which makes a big difference. Not only that, this lobe here has a taller, it's not as pointy on the top basically as the stock one. From the get-go, these stock camshafts come as an economy cam pretty much, and we're upgrading to performance cam. So the point of this camshaft, this is an A9 cam, A12 is my next recommendation, is opening up the valves longer to allow more air in. So more air in, more air out, more performance, like I said. The other giant thing that's super important that I see frequently going out with these stock cams with high mileage is these bearings. The one on the new bearing on this camshaft is going to be a Japanese made bearing. This is a Chinese made. So it's a much better bearing. Over time these bearings will go out on the stock cams. Well, on both of them really, but the stock ones are prone. So upgrade your camshaft, whether it's performance or just durability. Then we've got our CVT transmission kit, which is a complete upgrade. We've got the cooling holes in the clutch bell, unlike the other one, this one. And we've got our clutch with a lot more meat on the pads here with performance contra spring, performance clutch springs. The cool thing about this is when you start changing springs and things, it changes the whole way this thing operates. So this is a kit, all the hard work has been done. We've got the lightened variator fan, also looks cool, and we've got our variator. That's it's got a little bit more aggressive ramp in the variator. It's also a little lighter, and it's got 11-gram sliders, so performance upgrade there for sure. And then we've got our Kevlar belt here. So that's our CVT transmission kit that's going in there. The engine had this really long axle. We're going to replace that with a short axle since it's going into a Honda Ruckus. Not to mention, we've got our gearing. I pulled out the stock GY6 gearing, and we're replacing it with a lot higher gearing. So we're going to utilize the muscle that it had down low to achieve a higher top speed with these taller gears. So this is kind of everything that I'm swapping into there, and it's going to make this thing a monster. And then finally we have our magnetic drain plug kit. You got little magnets on the bottom. This is going to be for the engine drain plug. This is going to be for the filter. This guy just drops into there, and that'll go onto there. And this is for the gear oil, the gear drive. Final piece of the puzzle, 30 millimeter intake manifold with a 28 millimeter OKO carburetor, slide carburetor with pod filter. Now when we ship it, we don't keep this on there because it's too bulky for shipping. And if you have a Ruckus, you're going to want to get a clocking flange, and your carburetor will mount this way. But if you notice, the carburetor is facing up at a too aggressive of an angle, so you would get a clocking flange and a leveling kit, which would make it more like that. Alright, ladies and gents, this is our 190cc drop-in crate motor. You find this on our website at rollingwrenchdenver.com. We can build these to spec. We have this motor on the website, but it can be altered however you'd like. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next video.